So I've been using the Galaxy Z Fold 5 for about 10 weeks now, and did this thing actually replace my beloved iPad mini 6? Let's ramble.
Hold up, place go wild when I pull up. They all on me like they want some.
Hey, what is up guys? It's great to see you all again, and if you're new here, I'm Patrick and this is where I ramble about tech and other stuff. So yeah, those of you who've been keeping up with my channel know that recently I've been dipping my toes in the dark waters of Android just a little bit. I mean, Apple hasn't come out with anything noteworthy this year, and I was getting curious to see what the other side is up to. Foldables have been on my to-try list for a while now, so I decided now would be a great time to do some exploring. I reviewed the Galaxy Z Flip 5 and the Z Fold 5, and while the little flip phone wasn't really my thing, the Z Fold 5 certainly is. Now, I have not abandoned the Apple ecosystem, and I've not been able to ditch my iPhone completely. I did a separate video on why that is. I'll link to that video at the end of this one. Anyway, the point is that the Z Fold 5 did not replace my iPhone, and I'm now essentially using two phones. But the Z Fold 5 is more than just a phone, because when it's unfolded, it essentially turns into a mini tablet, which is why I completely understand why so many of you are asking me, did this actually replace your iPad mini 6? And if you're new to the channel, first of all, welcome, and if you like my stuff, a sub to the channel would be much appreciated. But if you're new to the channel, you need to understand exactly how much I love my iPad mini 6. It is my favorite iPad by far, probably even my favorite iPad ever made. I've done more videos about the iPad mini 6 on this channel than I did about any other product really, and so this is the context we're working with here. So for something to replace this tablet for me, it needs to be really good. And this Galaxy Fold 5 kinda is. So let's talk about the main features on both these devices, weigh some of the pros and cons, and then I'll tell you why this guy did or did not replace my iPad mini 6. So in terms of the design, the differences are quite obvious. First and foremost, one folds and one doesn't, or shouldn't. The iPad mini 6 has an 8.3-inch liquid retina display, it's got a full aluminum enclosure, although mine is covered in this yellow dbrand skin called Bulletproof Banana. Now I've gotten so many questions about this skin and where I got it, and the thing is that dbrand doesn't make it anymore. It still baffles me given how much you guys seem to like it. Maybe we should start a petition or something. Anyway, on top we have the power button, which also doubles as a fingerprint scanner. We have the volume rockers, a SIM tray, and of course the USB-C port. Now, it might look like it has a quad speaker system since there are 4 speaker grills, but unfortunately only 2 of those grills are actually populated with a speaker, which means we have a stereo setup in landscape orientation. The Galaxy Z Fold 5 on the other hand is rocking not 1 but 2 displays. The cover display is quite long and narrow, measuring 6.2 inches, but when you unfold it, you're greeted with that scrumptious 7.6-inch display, turning this iPhone into a little tablet. Now, in terms of the display, the Fold 5 is the clear winner. Yes, the display on the iPad mini 6 is slightly bigger, but the display quality is pretty underwhelming and probably my least favorite feature. It's just a standard liquid retina display capped at 60 Hz, which in my opinion has no business on a modern mobile device, and the brightness peaks at 500 nits, which is fine for inside use, but you won't see much outside, especially on a sunny day. Both displays on the Fold 5 are scrumptious, dynamic AMOLED 2X displays with 120 Hz refresh rate, and the brightness goes up all the way to 1750 nits. The difference really is night and day. The fact that the iPad mini 6 has only 60 Hz also results in the infamous jelly scroll effect, which is that wobbly look when scrolling. I did an entire video dedicated to jelly scrolling, and it's interesting to see that some people don't even really notice it's there, while others had to return their devices because it made it unworkable for them. I belong more to the first category. I can kind of see it, but it really doesn't bother me. Battery life isn't great on either devices. Neither make it to the end of the day for me when I use them extensively. Now, while they drain quickly, they also charge very quickly, especially on a fast and powerful charger like this 300-watt behemoth by Ugreen. I use Ugreen chargers all the time. I've got their 65 and their 100-watt chargers all over the office and our house. This one is called the Ugreen Nexode 300-watt charger, and it's their first 300 watts 5-port GAN charger with a single dedicated 140 watts output port. This thing charges literally all my stuff. It handles my iPad mini 6, my iPad Pro, my Fold 5, my iPhone, and my MacBook Pro without breaking a sweat. You could even charge 3 laptops at the same time. The PD 3.1 charging protocol means super high speed charging, supports to all sorts of devices in a wide range of voltage applicability. Personally, I really love these desktop solutions. Instead of looking for a bunch of single chargers all the time, I just use one single powerhouse sitting on my desk, taking care of everything at once. If you want to pick up one for yourself, do make sure you use the link in the description because Ugreen has kindly offered a generous discount both on Amazon and their own official store. In terms of specs under the hood, there are also quite a few differences, which of course makes sense since the Fold 5 is a much newer device than the iPad mini 6. I have the 512GB version, which comes with 12 gigs of RAM and the very powerful Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chip, whereas my 256 gigs iPad mini 6 has only 4GB of RAM and is driven by the A15 Bionic chip. Now, while the Fold 5 is a much more powerful device on paper, I've yet to see the iPad mini struggle with any of the tasks. So in practice, the limitations in horsepower haven't really been an issue for me. It even plays heavy games like Genshin Impact totally fine. Speaking of gaming, I think both devices offer a great experience in that regard. Their compact size makes these devices ideal for handheld gaming. I love the way the menu feels in the hand, and when gaming, having the stereo speakers in landscape mode makes complete sense. Same goes for the Fold 5. I love gaming on this thing, and of course, the Fold has the added advantage of that beautiful, crispy OLED display. I can't get over how good this looks. Now, while both devices are excellent for handheld gaming, the Fold 5 wins it for me because being able to carry my gaming device in my pockets is just next level convenient. The iPad mini 6 is nice and compact, but it does take a bit of commitment to take it with me since it does mean I will have to bring some sort of bag. The Fold 5 is in my pocket anyway, so to be able to just unfold it anywhere and start gaming or watching some content for that matter is just awesome. Another plus for the Fold is the camera system. It's not quite at S23 Ultra levels, but it's pretty good. The selfie camera on the front screen is a 10 megapixel wide lens, and the triple camera array on the back consists of a 50 megapixel wide, a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a 10 megapixel telephoto lens. The Mini 6 has a single 12 megapixel wide camera on the back and a pretty atrocious selfie camera, also 12 megapixel. Having said that, I don't use my iPads for photography or to create videos. I use those cameras purely for practical stuff like scanning documents, and for that, it's more than capable. But yeah, if you want to take one of these devices out shooting, the Fold 5 is a no-brainer. Now, there's one thing I absolutely hate doing on the Fold 5 and love doing on my iPad mini 6, and that is handwritten notes. Before I got my first iPad Pro in 2020, I was a longtime user of Samsung tablets, and when I first switched over from the S Pen to the Apple Pencil, I didn't like the feeling of it. The S Pen had a softer, much grippier tip, while the Apple Pencil slips and slides all over the glass surface. You already know what I'm gonna say next. I'm a massive fan of Paperlike. I put one on all my iPads. It completely changes the note-taking experience, and it even makes my awful handwriting look semi-decent. It's also great for sketching and drawing since the coarse surface of the matte screen protector provides a nice bit of drag to the Apple Pencil, which actually does make it feel like you're writing on paper. I also like the fact that it takes away most of the glare, and you can say goodbye to those nasty fingerprints. And if you haven't tried it, you're definitely missing out. As always, links to this and the screen protectors down below in the description. Now with that said, I do still like the S Pen, and it's great on Samsung tablets, but not on the Fold 5. As you probably know, being a foldable, this thing has a pretty noticeable crease down the middle of it. And while that doesn't really bother me at all for watching content or for general use, it is super annoying for note-taking, which means I don't really take handwritten notes on the Fold. The Mini 6 is perfectly flat and essentially notebook size, so it's perfect for note-taking. In terms of productivity, I have to give the win to the Fold 5 again. Multitasking is much more advanced on the Fold. On the Mini, you're basically limited to the side-by-side, while the Fold lets you open multiple windows and resize them however you want. And let's not forget about Samsung DeX. While the Mini 6 doesn't even support Stage Manager, the Fold 5 pretty much turns into a full-blown desktop computer on the go. Now personally, I don't really use my mobile devices like that. I'd much rather sit down at an actual computer for that. But if that kind of versatility is important to you, the Fold 5 is the way to go. And of course, the Fold 5 can do something the iPad mini can't do, and that is making cellular phone calls. So on paper, in many ways, the Fold 5 beats the iPad mini 6. But did it replace the iPad mini 6 for me? And the answer is no, it didn't. I absolutely love the convenience of carrying a mini tablet in my pocket at all times, and I really love the Fold 5 as an overall phone. It is the reason why I hung on to it next to my iPhone 15 Pro Max, but the reason why I'm rocking two phones is the same reason I'm not ready to ditch my iPad mini 6 for the Fold 5. I'm very deep into the Apple ecosystem. I run my businesses on a MacBook Pro, I edit my videos on it, I use an Apple Watch Ultra to keep track of my health and fitness, and I use an iPad Pro as my main tablet. The power of Apple is that these things work together so incredibly well that it's really difficult to incorporate an Android device into that workflow. Now, I'm not saying that Samsung doesn't have an amazing ecosystem of its own, but it's not the ecosystem I live in. So my iPad mini 6 is here to stay. It's my favorite little tablet that does all the tablety things I need it to do, and it's by far my favorite note-taking device. The Fold 5 does not fit into the ecosystem, but it's such a great standalone device that it's definitely worth keeping for me. On days where I don't want or need to bring an iPad, this Fold 5 is an absolute treat to carry with me, and on other days I prefer rocking my iPhone and iPad mini combo. I think both devices serve their own purpose, but the Mini 6 continues to have a special place in my heart. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please get one of these, it really does help. Subscribe for more content. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for some links to videos you might also want to watch.